Hello and welcome to this tutorial for the game Rear Window. In this game, most players will be trying to figure out who is who in these apartments, while one player will be giving out clues. Here's how it goes. You are going to play 4 rounds and then the game is over. During the game, it's possible that somewhere in this building a murder happened. It's also possible a murder did not happen. That depends on whether the one player who controls everything drew this murder token or not during the setup. That happens randomly. If there was no murder, then all the players win if everything in the 4th round was guessed correctly. If one mistake was made, then all the players lose. If there was a murder, then only one team can win. The players who are guessing the clues win if they correctly guessed where the murder happened and they have at least 7 points in the last round. Or the one other player who is giving out the clues, the director, wins the game if the other players did get 6 or 7 points in the last round, but they didn't pick the right spot for where the murder happened. In case the other players guessed fewer than 6 right in the last round, everyone loses. Next, how do you play the game? As I've said, there are 4 rounds. Each round starts with the director having 8 cards in hand. They are drawn randomly from this shuffled deck. Make sure you have 8 cards in hand. The director has this board behind the screen. These are the 4 people who live in this building, and this is their personality. The other players can't see this, and they have to guess it. The player who is the director now has to use these 8 cards to give the other players clues. For example, in this spot there is this person. You can also see the same person on this card. If I want the other players to guess this correctly, I place this card face up in this section of the building. You keep doing this until you have filled up all the spots. You're trying to make the other players guess what's on your own hidden board behind your screen. The other players can look at all the options because they have the same tokens on their side of the table, and it's also written on the inside of their own screen. It's possible you have cards that are completely useless. They don't show anything that will help the other players. In that case, you have 2 options. Every round, you are allowed to place up to 2 cards face down. Or you can spend one of these little tokens to get new cards. For example, I could discard 5 cards from my hand. I discard them face down. And then I can draw 5 new cards from the deck. When all the cards are placed, it's now up to the other players. They can discuss what they think should go where. It's best to do that in silence and just point to everything you see on the inside of the screen. At some point, the players have to make a decision and start placing tokens. They can see this person, so they'll put this token with the same person there. Keep going until all spots are filled. When they're done, the other player, who is the director, will use this scoring track to let them know how many guesses were correct. It's 1 point per person token and 1 point per this other token. But you can't say which ones were correct and which ones were wrong. While the other players are guessing, they are allowed to use these boards. The board itself will explain what it will do for you. And as soon as you've used it, you flip it over. You can use each board once per game, only once. And that's it. This is how you play Rear Window. As soon as you've given out points, you flip over the next board in the middle of the table and go again. The director leaves everything as it is on the board behind the director's screen. This is who lives in the building and what their personality is. Don't make any changes to it. Now, what happens if the director happens to draw this murder token during the setup? That is something the director is trying to hide from the other players. So, if the murder is in one of these apartments, then that spot should get a false clue. Or maybe a face-down card. If it's too obvious that it's a false clue, then the other players will know a murder happened here. If the other players all think they know there has been a murder, they do not place their own murder token just yet. Keep playing as if everything is fine. But behind the screen, they should communicate in silence that they think there was a murder by pointing at it. When you get to the last round, day 4, that is when you place this murder token on the big board. If, for example, you think it happened in this apartment, then in the final round, you put the murder token on this apartment. You finish the round as usual, and during the scoring in the last round, everyone will find out if they all won the game, or all lost the game, or maybe only one team is the winner. When you've played this game at least once, instead of using these white tiles, you can use the darker ones to make the game more difficult. Check the rulebook to see how that works. We're done. This is how Rear Window is played. I hope you feel like you know enough, and that if you play it, you'll have a nice time with it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment, and see you for the next one.